Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Bacta, the future. And when we talking about going back to the future, it seems that the book of Boba Fett has went back to a familiar character and one that, yeah, I'm happy to see. It's some of the best looking Star Wars I've ever seen. It's also uh, some of the best worlding I've seen. But also, it's funny that's one of the best episodes of or if not the best episode of the Book of Boba Fett, has absolutely nothing to do with Boba Fett, which, again, is a big problem with the character himself. Uh, John, what were your high or low or whatever thoughts it was on Chapter 5, The Return of the Mandalorian of the Book of Boba Fett?
I mean, I think we're on the same page. I think everybody's on the same page. It was an absolutely fantastic, maybe you said it, like maybe the best episode of The Mandalorian that we've ever seen. Some of the coolest Star Wars stuff that we've ever seen, or like I don't know, that the Night of a Thousand Tears looked pretty amazing. Like
Yeah, yeah, it did.
100 tie bombers just letting loose on Mandalore was pretty awesome for 45 seconds. But yeah, it wasn't. I mean, and serious, what happened to the show? It's like the Book of Boba Fett. It's literally the leaflet of Boba Fett, and they threw in a pamphlet of the Mandalorian just to keep our interest. So what are you doing? It's not a book.
No, it's not. It's more like to quote Ian Simmons from Kicking the Seat, it's more like a bedtime story. And that's exact. And it could be a bedtime story. The guy's sleeping in the Bacta tank all the time. Now he's fully healed. But all the stuff that was interesting in this episode that I loved and found fascinating had nothing to do with the central character. As a matter of fact, Boba Fett appears weaker than Mando, weaker than Fennec, weaker than anyone. And it's like, I don't know how they neutered this character so much. And I don't care what payoff they have. I don't care if Boba's riding on the top of a Rancor and tearing through Moss Isley or Moss Espa or Elizabeth Moss or whatever. Like I don't know how they're gonna make up for that, and it really just shows how these writers don't either have faith in their character or there's just some horrific thing going on behind the scenes, similar to the Rise of Skywalker, where I mean it could be Kathleen. It could be anyone else at Disney. I mean, I don't want to just blame Kathleen Kennedy because I think she knows she fucked up, and now they need to. They had to give it to people who could unfuck the mess, but unfortunately, there were so many different ideas, kind of colliding together at the same time, that the deadline that this movie gave this new Boba Fett show just made this situation seem almost unfuckable. And again, it just has to do with Disney's insistence on deadlines because this show looks so fucking rushed. But this episode is gorgeous. When they appear on the Halo planet, I'm just blown the fuck away.
Yeah, it's a beautifully shot episode. It's put together well. The story makes sense. It explains some shit. Like they explain some shit about the dark saber that everybody's like, what the hell's up with that thing? And blah blah blah. And they explain it
Yeah.
in this episode. They give you the purge. The end of Mandalore. They give you some really cool stuff with you know the other TV show that has nothing to do with Boba Fett. It's so weird. It's like going forward with the live action Disney Star Wars stuff. Like, is that what they're going to do? They're just going to they go, oh, yeah, you remember that Boba Fett show? We're going to have an episode of Boba Fett in the Obi-Wan series. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, or have an episode. Actually, I will say it would be cool if we had an episode of Darth Maul in the Obi-Wan series. But again, it has to service the story. I don't know how this is going to service the story with Boba in the end. Like, is it going to tie back to how Boba, like, maybe gets in a fight with Mando and now he has a dark saber and now we have this whole other, litany of issues with criminality and power that could be tied to the saber. If they do that, then hey man, awesome. I'm glad you had this episode. I see why you went with that character. But from what I see, they have nothing to do with Boba Fett. They're like, well, he does all the cool shit that we show the Mandalorian do. Like, Mando's using all his gadgets that we want to see Boba use. Where is any of this? I get he's stripped of it. I get that he's trying to have his sort of awakening, his woke awakening with the Tusken Raiders. But boy, man, after that, I didn't understand why he wanted to take over Jabba's palace other than being sick of working for stupid assholes who always told him what to do. Like, the rest of it is just like, where's Boba Fett? This is why am I so invested in this, and yet there's no Boba Fett yet. I didn't even give a shit Boba Fett was there. Mando's opening in this episode, let's get into that. His opening was the kind of shit I want to see Boba do. But yeah, it's like they understand Mando more than they understand Boba, because Mando really cemented, I think, every idea behind Boba Fett and everything the fans loved about him. And now when the Boba Fett show comes out, it's like, well, we don't need this character now. Mandalorian did that. He gave Disney what they wanted, someone who's edgy, who's by himself, who also has a heart of gold, where Boba Fett doesn't have a heart of gold. He is a murderer. He doesn't care. And we don't even know about that past. And why is there so much information within 25 minutes? You know, once they get to Amy Sedaris, you know, it just turns into just a bunch of goofing around with people upset. Like, oh, what does this engine do? Amy, say something funny. Oh, well, gee, I'm from Tatooine. I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. But well, but my point is, within those first 25 minutes of this episode, I get so much more with Mando than I get with 5 minutes with Boba. Why is that?
Yeah, I don't know. They're leaning on their old product. It doesn't make any sense to me, honestly.
Well, I think it's the problem is that they can't have a fearless, ruthless killer as a character at Disney.
He'll cut a dude in half. You could see him cut a dude in half. You can slow it down a little bit. He cuts that dude in half.
Yeah, no, and it's like, why don't they have Boba do that? It's like, because Mando does it, because he's misunderstood like all their villains and stuff like that. You can see the formula.
That was just if it's just the intro. It's like a 5 minute introduction, like reintroduction to Mando. It's like, boom, okay, cool. 5-10 minutes later, cool. We see both. It's like, how do we not see the title character in the show? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
When Boba Fett in Mando's show, Mando was there. Grogu was there. Those guys were there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's up, you got? What are you doing? Just the decision making behind this television show is odd. They're bad batching us, dude. And they don't care that we don't like it. There are people out there, they're gonna be like, yeah, I love Vespas.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm afraid of. Like, everyone like who is not a Boba Fett fan will like watch this and be like, oh, this episode's so great, I love it. It's like, what about Boba Fett? Oh, I don't care about him anymore. And that's how I feel about Boba after this. Like, I don't even give a shit about Boba at this point. I'm like, he's boring and he's lame, and I can't really back him up as a character anymore.
I mean, there were rumors of, Tamora Morrison on set trying to like scale back the dialogue when certain people weren't around.
Yeah. John Favreau wasn't around. He was in Atlanta, and he told him from Atlanta, like, don't say the lines.
The dude who was Jango Fett, like, he's been this guy for a billion years, a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. He was Jango Fett, and it's just like, he knows this character, and he's just like, yeah, this is not the Boba Fett that I thought. He himself has spoken out and is just like, this is weird. It's like, what are they doing? He talks too much. He's
making
naive
jokes. He's like, the whole like a bantha thing is a meme, because like nobody wants to see Boba Fett smiling and having fun.
I don't understand the naivete written into supposedly the smartest bounty hunter. He's like, oh no, I'm just gonna hide here and I'm gonna have Han Solo in 15 minutes. You guys don't sweat it.
Well,
okay, cool.
Yeah, dude.
Uh, he knows what he's doing apparently, but these writers decide that he doesn't know what he's doing, and
Mm-hmm.
he's just this guy who crawls out of the Sarlacc pit, gets entwined with these Tatooine Tusken Raiders, and is just like, okay, cool. He doesn't really want power anymore. He's just like, all right. He's not out to work for the idiots anymore, which is literally calling Darth Vader an idiot. It's kind of awesome.
He
But
is an
still,
idiot now that we've seen the prequels. He kind of is a dope for falling for everything like Palpatine said to him.
well, yeah, I mean, Anakin's a fucking dumbass.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. We know that from watching 7 years of the Clone Wars.
Yeah. Like, well, here's the thing. He's not and the Clone Wars proves he's not a dumbass. It proves that like his arrogance tied behind his intelligence. The only problem is he didn't know when to slow his roll. And
And
when
again,
he got too mad, that's like when shit went downhill.
he was so naive, and that's what got him in the end. He was just like, "Well, how come I can't be red eyes?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how come I can't be?" Oh shit, he went nuts because shit wasn't explained to him when he was a little kid. Shit just happened.
Oh, speaking of when Anakin was a kid, did you catch the little line, the little episode one reference that Mando had when he was done flying the ship around?
The wizard.
Yeah. This is so wizard, Annie.
He literally did the pod race sequence. He went through Beggar's Canyon, and
Okay,
he,
I love that scene actually.
he's flying the exact same ship, the first ship that Anakin piloted by accident, and he blew up the what is it, the Looser Hulk?
The Razor Crest.
No, not a Razor Crest. The tiny
Are you talking about Anakin's ship? His didn't blow up.
when he was a little boy, when he jumped in and he was the pilot for the very first
Oh,
time.
the N1 Starfighter?
Yellow Starfighter. That's what he has right now.
Yeah, I think the N1 stands for Naboo. Would that would make sense, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the N1 Starfighter. Now, was that exclusively, um,
Handmade for the Princess of or
yeah,
the Queen.
was it the Queen Starship herself, the one that Anakin himself was in?
That's what they were alluding to, but they're not going to say.
Yeah, I'm glad they alluded to it. I'm glad that at a certain point, like, maybe like a little piece of Anakin's past like falls in there, something from the movies, like falls in the cockpit, and Mando's like, "Oh, what's this?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. Someone owned it." Which I'm sorry if I sound like I hate Amy Sedaris. I don't. Strangers with Candy was a very popular show when I was growing up. But just for the Star Wars universe, you could only take I think 2 minutes of her, but like 15. Jesus Christ, man! Just like local lady from small town Nevada or whatever, but placed in small town Tatooine. I don't know where she's from, but she has a small town feel. Just like screaming like constantly, and now apparently she had sex with Jawas or had a boyfriend who was a Jawa. I don't know if they got to that point, but I'm guessing if they were a couple. Was that weird to you did you catch that part where she's like, "Oh, yeah, I had a Jawa who was a boyfriend once," and then she could talk really fast, like, to them.
It was unnecessary. Yeah, I don't know why they do weird stuff like that.
Yeah, did I need to know that? I mean, the funny thing is, actually, now I look back at it, that part was kind of clever. Because Amy Sedaris seems like she would have sex with a Jawa. Not in real life, but like her character would totally get involved in some relationship like that because she's just like, dude, I don't care. Like, there's not a lot out here on Mos Eisley. That does bring me to one question. When they bring the transport out to Mos Eisley, and they land there, and Mando puts all of his weapons in a security case, which I'll come back to that later. I have thoughts on that. And I think every planet, although they're a planet, right, It's a bit like NASA. We're like, why is Star Wars so limited? Why do they always land in the same space? And I think I get it now. I think every planet just has like that one little area that people land in, and they depart from, whether it's tourists or other spaceships. So although there's entire planets, like whatever species or civilizations are there are very limited in their inhabitants because the amount of planets that are available in the Star Wars universe seems to be unlimited because it can be.
Mm.
I think that kind of answered that little plot hole. Although the thing I wanted to come back to was it seemed a little foolish for Mando to leave all of his weapons, if they're a part of his religion, in a piece of luggage that could easily be mislocated, lost, etc., etc. I get it was a piece of humor. It seemed a little out of character for Mando to be that naive to let it go through. But again,
Get there.
Mando is kind of like he can be naive on camera, unlike Boba. When he's naive, you're like, dude, you're a fucking
How did
vet.
he get to where he was? Did he not have to go through customs and all that bullshit on the way there? Like,
It,
I don't understand why that was such a big deal leaving. He got there, didn't he?
well, he
How
did.
did
He
he?
had his own ship, so I think he didn't have to worry
No, he
about that. He
didn't.
had to. He had to. Well, he had the Razor Crest, right? Like he had to.
Razor Crest did not drop him off there, is what I'm saying. How did he get
Oh. Yeah, well, it's because he didn't have his own. I think that might have been a separate spaceport.
plot hole, dude? Huge plot hole. Like
You're
that's
right.
not a big deal, man.
I thought it
He's there.
cleared up a plot hole, but maybe it did create one.
Did he fly there with his jetpack? No, he did not. He got there some other way. Did Greedo drop his ass off? Fuck no.
Well, if I were to think about it, think of the spaceport that Amy Sedaris' character worked in compared to his. Amy Sedaris' character, worked in a different spaceport that he could just kind of like land in, and that one's probably meant for non-commercial flights, where his was a commercial flight airport that he could land in. Like that's kind of like what I gathered from it. But speaking of worlds, I did love the world building here. I kind of wish the whole episode took place on that little Halo planet.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, just the stylized, like, holy crap, this is what Star Wars can be, and not, I totally understand why Anakin hates sand so much.
Yeah, I think we all do now. I mean,
Mhm.
Jesus Christ! Even the posters are loaded with sand. After I like when Mando was going back to Tatooine, I'm going, do we have to go back there? I really don't want to. Like, I'm tired of Tatooine. And it was fun for a little bit because he got the Naboo starfighter, but oh God, it's funny. Like this episode
How's he
is
gonna fit
equal
all that?
parts quality. Like the first half of the episode, first 25 minutes is fucking incredible. And like the last 20 to 25 minutes is really boring. Except I love the sequence where he flies around the ship. Like it kind of gave you that feeling of what it's like to be on a Star Tours ride. Which literally that kind of was a robot from Star Tours in a way, wasn't it?
Pod racing. They
Yeah.
did that on purpose.
Oh, Star Tours came even before. Like, have you ever been to Disney? It was that was like part of their thing. Like, you'd have
How's
like
he
a little.
gonna
I'm sorry.
with that tiny little fast ship though? How's he gonna like bring anybody in warm? He can't now. He
Is
can't. He can't be like if a Wookiee gets like a bounty, he's like, oh, I gotta kill you because I got a tiny ship. You're not gonna fit. Sorry,
yeah.
gotta murder everybody now. Bosk is gonna love that. He's like, oh, just
Yeah, dude.
love this. Seriously, dude, they're not thinking. They're not this show. They're not thinking at all, dude. He doesn't need a tiny little fast, speedy vehicle. That's for the Han Solo show. That's for fucking anybody else. That's for Andor. That's for, give Ahsoka that thing. Don't give it to the dude that needs to bring in bodies warm every once in a while. He cannot do that now.
Yeah.
It's so just like they're just not thinking about their own character in a way. Much less like, yeah, we can bitch about Boba Fett, but they're not even thinking about the Mandalorian. It's like, what are you guys doing? Seriously.
Well, I'm not. I'm not sure. I feel like he's just using that as a temporary starship and they have that in mind at least.
You could have given him back and gotten him a Razor Crest, which you wanted in the first place, which can carry bodies and Grogu and like all kinds of cool stuff.
He did ask for his money back for it.
Boy, yeah, did. Just like, no, I got a speed racer. That's cool. It's like your second vehicle, maybe, but
yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it's like he did ask his money back for it. They did convince him how it's faster than any other ship, blah, 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 and that is a Han Solo trait. I'll give you that. The thing is, I feel like this is like a temporary ship he's using to see Grogu, to see him again. And I got to say, because they literally have the little cockpit in the back, like the little bubble in the back for Grogu to go in.
No, that's what they're doing, but
yeah,
like the character isn't. That's not what the character is. The character is a fucking bounty hunter, dude. Stick to it. What are they doing?
I think he's a little more complicated. Where here's the thing with Mando, you can do with him that you can't do.
They're straying. They're pulling a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. They're straying from what the character should be and what it can do. Oh no, he could just like take over people in the middle of the day sometimes. No, dude, he fucking attacks people in their dreams. That's it. Why did you fucking change it for the second movie? They're changing stuff about their own character within a TV show that's not even about that. It's odd.
Well, which part did they change about Mando? He seems to be essentially the exact same person other than changing a starship, which I think is a temporary adjustment for him. I think he's going to eventually get, or not eventually, he's like, hey, I'm going to get the ship now, and there's different ways to Star Wars. He could probably figure out where he could like fit the carbonite in a compartment and just stick them in there.
It's a weird beef, but I play video games, and that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Is like, what's this dude's job? Like, what would I need if I was him?
Yeah.
And it's not a fucking, it's not Coulson's, flying 56 fucking Chevy. It's not that thing.
Right.
Full vehicle. Needs a van.
I mean, it is weird that he's driving a convertible because it seems like the Razor Crest is like his home that he lives in a way.
Pod racers, blah blah blah, but still, it's like, dude, it's not practical, bro.
It did seem a little bit like here's a little part of me where I always criticize Disney for fan service, but again, I like fan service, not fanboy service. When he's flying around in the Starfighter and he's going through Beggar's Canyon during the pod race, like the literal rocks from the pod race from episode 1, flying between them and all that, and kind of giving us a tour of it again. It really kind of gave you that sense of the speed of that ship when you see Mando's helmet going back when he pulls the accelerator, towards him. I loved it.
The entire episode gave you a sense of what they could actually do with the Star Wars franchise.
What they could do with the tech and make it really interesting.
In to the book of Boba Fett, and it's a story about somebody else.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yes, it is.
If it was like a Bosk, if it was like somebody else's background story, it's like, oh, we're going to go recruit this guy. And it's like, oh, shit, that's fucking Bosk or Zuckuss or Forlom or IG. If it was one of the other dudes that was standing there, or fucking Cad Bane for an episode, it's like, no, you know what? Let's just fucking franchise it out. And episode 5, boom, Mandalorian.
Yeah. They didn't care. It's like they don't give a shit about Boba is what bothers me. We're talking about Mando, and I'm like, oh, wait, this show's supposed to be the book of Boba Fett. Yeah. And yet every time I see Boba Fett, I'm like, this guy's a dumbass, and he's boring. And
it was gorgeous, but it wasn't the book of Boba Fett. It wasn't the page of Boba Fett. It was.
Why did the episode without Boba Fett look better than the episodes? Because like the book of Boba Fett looks fucking cheap sometimes. Like the mod kids in their speed bikes, as we know, look cheap because it looks like they mixed something from the prequel era with the sequel era, and it doesn't match. It takes like George Lucas's love for automobiles and car racing and blah 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 blah. And it was in something that was like in one of Doug Chiang's like prequel designs where George Lucas would just see like a line of sort of models for what he wants to use for a starship or what have you. And he just goes, I like this one. He chooses the first one. That's what it felt like. It felt very lame. And Doug Chiang is an amazing production designer. But, if you don't know who Doug Chiang is, he's the guy who did the sort of like design on all the vehicles and robots and production design in general for the prequels. And like his influence is certainly in that, but it clashes with the gritty, dirty realism of the original trilogy, and that's where you just get so many different visions that just don't mold together well into a consistent product. And this is the problem. The Book of Boba Fett completely lacks consistency.
Yeah, I mean, last week we were talking about, oh, okay, finally, he's got some motivation.
Yeah.
They're going to move forward, and they don't move forward at all. They just go sideways with a separate story about a different dude who wears a mask that kind of looks like his. And yes, it is awesome and it's super informative, but it's like that for a limited series like this, for as much as they put into it, it's like I said, it's a pamphlet. It's not a book. This
Unless
isn't
there's
this
other seasons.
this whole first season isn't even a prologue yet.
Yeah.
What is even? It's like they're building up to what exactly?
If I were to guess, I'm glad you brought that up because Robert Rodriguez is the guy who's one of the guys in charge of directing it. And similar to what I said last week, my problem with Robert Rodriguez is that he is stylistically a wonderful filmmaker. I don't think anybody else could make something like Sin City. Um, and everyone is a lot of folks are trying to emulate it, especially Zack Snyder's entire career. But the thing is that Rodriguez is very shallow in his movies. He can't explore beyond a certain extent. So I have a worry and a fear. One worry has already come to pass, which is that this show could be boring and not at all what we thought it was going to be, and we could be disappointed and we'd be shocked why this happened. But again, like they say in Spider-Man No Way Home, expect disappointment and you'll never be disappointed. And this is a show where you have someone who knows what looks cool. He knows, like, okay, Machete can take a guy's intestines and use it as a rope to go into the room of another building. Right? Yeah. So like the whole thing where like Mando has the dark saber in the beginning with you got to admit that beginning is fucking gritty as fuck for Disney. He's in a meat shack, like stabs one guy, chops another in half, but he's not done. He decapitates him, puts his head in a duffel bag, and through a single take scene walks into a room while he's injured with the decapitated head and says, "All right, I want my credits for this." They say, "We have another job. I don't care. Just give me my credits and I'll fuck off. Thanks." That kind of grittiness, I'm praying Rodriguez gets to do with Boba Fett, because they could do that with Mando, do that with Boba. Give me a flashback where he's heartless and he burns like a fucking city, or let me see like when he has his big payoff fight, because that's what it's gonna be. The whole show is leading up to this. I'm thinking at the bare minimum level that the show is leading up to a big fight, right? Like a big fight between the Pikes, between everyone in Mos Eisley, and we're gonna go, oh, these Pikes are lame, but it's gonna be way cooler than we think, and Boba Fett's gonna tear fucking ass because he's fully healed. And I'm praying Rodriguez does what he did with that. I wanted this show to take the stormtrooper scene in The Mandalorian and make it look quaint, and instead that show it's the fucking like. That's what I want. Where is this? Come on, go. If you could have Mando be this brutal, have Boba be even more brutal, and make it pay off. If I want shallow Rodriguez, shallow that bitch up, and let me see some heads roll for these last two episodes. Or at least the last one. Something.
It's going to be Bo-Katan with terrible timing, and she's going to go for the dark saber right as Din Djarin and Boba Fett are like, okay, let's be friends. And then it's going to be that's going to be the show. That's going to be the last 2 episodes.
That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that all the Mandalorians will get together, and isn't it cool the Mandalorians are together? It's like, it's cool. These like 3 Mandalorians or 2 Mandalorians. Snoop Dogg's fucking niece or nephew or cousin or whatever form of nepotism, who's also an anti-vaxxer, is off the show. Remember the one who called Boba Fett a sidekick, and then he made the comment about, oh, well, that's ironic you say that. And then, like, she hits him. Yeah, she's fired because she's an anti-vaxxer. So it would just be Bo-Katan, Boba Fett, and then Mando. So I'm like, yeah, 2 of you are real Mandalorians. Boba Fett's a fake-ass bitch. Like, I don't see him being a Mandalorian at all.
He's a weak, naive clone. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, he's just another dumb clone. And I thought the whole point of the Book of Boba Fett was to prove that he's his own individual, that, like in his scene when he's tripping out on Lizard, he breaks from his family trees, snaps the roots of it in a very biblical sort of essence that's similar to, I think it was like Satan in the desert with a tree that Jesus could eat to tempt him to come towards him. But anyways, I'm thinking of a scene from the Last Temptation of the Christ, but it was very similar to that. But are we gonna have that? Are we gonna have Boba break the roots from his family, go back to Camino, focus on why he's not just a fucking clone, and then have the big payoff? Or can we have the big payoff and then that? I don't think we're gonna have any of that. I think we're gonna have what you say, and this is gonna be examined like the prequels were, where we're gonna say what went wrong, why did it go wrong, and then probably 10 years down the line, people are gonna say this is actually amazing, and you misunderstood this. But I don't. I mean, we'll see if that happens, right?
It can be fun, but I don't know if it can be. I don't know. Maybe it can be amazing. We'll see. I mean, it's 5 episodes in, and it's still not even 5 episodes. That wasn't even an episode of this show. That was an episode of another show. So We're still at 4 episodes in. We're sitting, like, the credits pop up. Fennec Shand is like, hey, blah, 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 I got a buddy for you to talk to. And then the credits roll. It's like, holy shit, man. I could have dealt with, like, another 15 or 20 minutes of the Boba Fett dude in the Boba Fett show, maybe. That would have been cool.
You know what would have been cool? If Disney wants to make these lengths of these episodes so unpredictable, which, I'm sorry, this is like fucking torture for me. Every week, it's like, what's the length? Fuck! I feel like I'm rolling dice. I feel like I'm gambling. Every week, I'm watching a Disney Plus show. I'm gonna be like, am I gonna get a fucking 30 or a 52 roll?
As an episode of The Mandalorian, you have a 4-star scale. I give it 5 out of 4 stars as an episode of The Mandalorian.
Not even that, man. I give it 4 for Mandalorian. Too much Amy Sedaris.
As an episode of the Boba Fett show, the Book of Boba Fett, I give it. Man, it's hard to give it 3. I'll give it 3 out of 4 stars.
For the Book of Boba Fett, I don't even give it stars because it doesn't count. It's fucking cheap, But I'll give it 3 out of 4 Guinnesses on our Guinness level, because we go off of 4 Guinnesses. Which, oh dear God, I should go to Galway Bay tonight and have a drink, because I bloody need one. Before this episode started, we had a litany of technical issues that made me decide, hey, you know what? One of my friends who's a well-known critic was right. E-Man, you are right. Never do a live stream unless you're prepared. But again, we learn through our failures, and I wonder if these filmmakers are going to live through their failures of this show. Because so far, I'm sorry, the Book of Boba Fett is a failure.
We got 2 hours left. Let's see what they can do.
Not even. What do you want to bet, like, next week? It's going to be like a 38-minute episode? And when it says 38 minutes and you count credits plus like the credits after the credits where it's just like the name of the companies, we're talking about like 8 to 10 minutes. So 38, 30-minute episode plus a 52-minute episode, minus 8, 52, 53, or 51, 50, 49, 48, 47, 46, 45, for like a 44-minute. I have to count with my hands. I'm stupid with math. But you got like a 47-minute episode. Yeah, man. If they want to really take advantage of this length, have the first episode be like you know what they should have done instead of having Mando. Here's what they should have done: make it the first 20 minutes of that big payoff of the Pikes, and you just fuck them all up and kill them. Or make the first 20 minutes you get Mando, and then you fuck the Pikes up, and then you have 2 episodes, and then you go, where are they gonna go from here? Because we don't know. Now we got rid of the big baddie, and we still have 2 episodes. What's going to happen? I'm excited. But they're not going to do that. And we know what they're going to do. It's just predictable the whole way through.
Yeah, they're not, I don't know.
They're not clever. They're not clever. I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt. And you know what? If they fool me, great. But you know what? They're not fooling me. I feel like some of the real writers are on certain shows and certain characters, but this one, I feel like Robert Rodriguez was just smoking like a freaking, like he had like a bong, or he probably had like a weed mask on, and he's just like, yeah, just like do this episode where Boba shoots a guy. No, I'm just kidding. I think I never thought I'd talk this way about Robert Rodriguez and Boba Fett, but who's screwing this up? Is he just getting too high and only cares about the very last episode? Or is he just like part of the machine and he knows like what, I'm not going to use that analogy, but he's going to know which part of the company to pleasure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for what it is, like it is not. I'm gonna just repeat what I said earlier. Like it's not even a prologue yet. Four episodes in, finally he gets his shit back. He gets a little bit of motivation. He gets a cool teammate that beat his ass already once, and he should have fired those guards for letting him in or something. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, it's like a complete departure from the main character of the show. The show itself is barely a prologue. It's not a book. It's literally like a pamphlet of Boba Fett, and we had a leaflet of Mandalorian today or yesterday.
Yeah, it's sad.
I don't have millions of dollars. I can't make this shit, so I got to sit here and watch it and complain. That's all I can do.
That's all we can do. And by the way, Bryce Dallas Howard directed this episode, and
gorgeous episode, man.
Dude, she's amazing, man. Like she's really like crushing it as a director. Like she's directed some of the. She directed. There's that one episode of The Mandalorian where I'll say I looked at it. I'm like, this is stupid. Now I look it up. Like, yeah, that was a filler episode, and that one was cool. And the episode I'm referring to is when Mando goes on that little grass planet, but there's like an ATST that's terrorizing the inhabitants there. Yeah. And he has that talk with that girl who he kind of has like a little fling with, right? She grabs his helmet by the sides and she says, "Who's under there? Don't you want to take that off? Don't you want to have a normal life?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'd like to, but I can't do it," right? And I'm always thinking, that's always going to be Mando's in my head. They probably won't write it, but this is what I'd love to see happen. For the end of Mando's episode, it would be so nice to have him maybe find that girl again, make Grogu his son. Grogu realizes he doesn't have to be a Jedi. They can be a family. And that would be perfect for Disney. Disney would love it, right? Because it's all about family. That's what it's like. You have to appeal to family. They have the highest returns for your product. Families are going to buy the Spider-Man tickets. They're going to buy the Book of Boba Fett tickets. Or, well, if they made a Boba Fett movie. It's like grand finale. But they're ones who care about this stuff, and you could tie it to that. But the point I'm making with this, tying it back to Bryce Dallas Howard, is that she has made some of the most engaging episodes emotionally. And I think, I mean, think of Mando. We know he could have told. What's the name of the girl from Game of Thrones? I think she's from Game of Thrones. I just assume anyone who's English is from Game of Thrones. Uh, what did she tell him when she told him? I'm sorry, my brain's rambling a bit here. She told him he can't remove his helmet, right? And he could have just said, no, I never removed my helmet in front of anyone. Because her question was, have you removed your helmet in front of everybody? And he
Yeah.
said, no. He could have just said no, right? Just like I did. But he doesn't. He hesitates. Now that's something that's very intrinsic of that character, where I'm thinking, as an actress, Bryce knows how to reach her actors on that level that make them more engaging, that makes Amy Sedaris less insufferable. Damn it! All right, I find her annoying. I admit it. But I I kind of hope to see her do more episodes of these shows. She's just she's great at this, and I want to see more people take notes from her. The notes that she learned from her dad, possibly, to put in this show. Focus on your characters and their motivations, not just action or filler or stupid fan service like going to the Sarlacc pit, going inside of it before putting the seismic charge. They could have killed it before they put the seismic charge in it when it was eating them. But anyways, rant over. Good director. Have her in charge. The Book of Boba Fett has just like a bunch of dumb guys who just want to see dumb guys shit, and guess what? They don't even deliver that. So, yeah, fucking win me over in 2 episodes, because at this point I'm done with it.
We'll see. I mean, just turn him from being what you've turned him into the dude that we love, and we always thought he was, and then we can forget the first 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, it's just odd to have made this character so weird and naive and goofy, and it's like, yes, okay, I understand his need to, like, he needed to find a tribe and he needed to become empathetic, and we needed to become empathetic for him, and I understand all that, but 4.5 episodes into it, let's get something going here. Yeah, two episodes left, so that's what, an hour and a half, maybe, if we're lucky, of Star Wars, of the Book of Boba Fett, quote unquote book. It's not a book; it's a pamphlet.
Yep. Bedtime story. No, it's funny. You're mentioning Boba Fett, and the whole time I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. This is a Boba Fett show, and I started thinking about Mandalorian and how Bryce Dallas Howard is a perfect director for Mandalorian, and I'd like to see her direct the Boba Fett show. Like, let's see some depth to him. Go to Camino. Learn your past. Prove why you're not a clone. Make these bullet points, Kevin Feige bullet points, for Jon Favreau when he's done. Oh, God. I'll say this. Thank God Vince Vaughn's not in any of these. But yeah, send these to Jon Favreau, because Jesus Christ, man, this is ridiculous that fans know more about like how this should work than the writers themselves. There's a reason fan films are compared to the professional shit. It's because like the fans know better. And again, I don't feel like that the writers themselves are not fans. I feel like that there's other hands at play here, where when everything is produced by the same company, you start to notice what they're doing more than they want you to, probably.
Last week, it's like they're trying to sell toys. They're switching to the kids' generation. They're trying to rebuild stuff that was already super cool in ways that the young generation can be like, okay, yeah, I got you. We're cool.
Yeah.
I like the Vespa, you know. Ugh.
We could be toyetic without making pure toy driven stories. We can have stories that can say something more than what you initially think. Because think about what made The Mandalorian work as a story. What made it connect to us?
Initially, it was just, holy cow, this, especially that first episode. It's
Yeah,
kind of what we from this episode here, episode 5. It's like, holy cow, this is what Star Wars could be if it was like handled correctly.
yeah.
What you're always looking forward with these shows. Mandalorian did give us a lot of that. We looked forward to that because of the Boba Fett name being attached to this show. We were like, holy cow, if they handle that right, it's going to be amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
none of the critics are saying that. Nobody is saying that. Maybe Mattel is saying that or Hasbro, whoever gets to make the toys, like, yeah, this is awesome. We can make more cool stuff. It's shiny.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Whatever. It'll sell. It'll float in the ocean just like the rest of the shit that we made for 40 fucking years. It's like, come on, you guys. There is storytelling available in the Star Wars universe. Get to it. There is
And
beautiful stuff in the Star Wars universe. Get to it. We had a taste of it today. Although this episode had nothing to do with the show that we're watching. Weird as fuck. But yeah, huge question mark for the rest of. I mean, we're gonna say that at the end of every one of these shows. Huge question mark for the rest of Disney.
exactly, that's it gives me hope, and it also gives me a little bit of trepidation because the hope is you have unlimited attempts to fix what you fucked up. Trepidation is you could fuck up 90% of those attempts. So get it right the first time. Because if you think about it, George Lucas, and this is a gross analogy, but I will use it. George Lucas, I think, compared the prequels, or not the prequel. He compared Disney to white slavers, who own everything and sell it a certain way. I mean, he didn't say that part, but you got the analogy. It's like, yeah, I gave something that I cared about to the people who are going to pervert it and whore it, and you know what? Yeah, but at the same time, you did pervert and whore your own thing by selling as many toys as you could and only sticking to Star Wars. But I get how this corporation is going to handle their property because you could tell on a certain level you cannot have your character be a bad guy. There has to be a sympathetic angle. There has to be a reason why we like him or care about him. And the thing is, I don't think Boba Fett is Disney material. Judging from the expanded universe and by his few seconds on screen, he's a guy who doesn't give a shit about you. And he's a guy who is like the John Wick of the galaxy. And it's like, look, man, if you want to make him woke and you want to make him a good guy, great. But you got to make him like a fucking John Wick or something. You got to make him cool. And they failed to do that. They failed to do everything on this character on every level, and they're failed to even focus on him now. And that's why it's like, yeah, I love this as a Mandalorian. Not love it, but like it as a Mandalorian episode. I could have gone without the whole ship repair thing. But this just proves that they have no fucking clue what they're doing with Boba. And I don't mean the writers, but I feel like the bigger heads of Disney are saying, we don't care if you like this. Like, we need this because we can't tell kids it's cool to be a ruthless killer.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. He's literally not Disney material. There's some things about Star Wars that your Zack Snyders and your Quentin Tarantinos should just let them have at it, dude. Seriously.
Yeah.
And this guy, this is just it's just a huge swing and a miss. Even if they do come in with, Bo-Katan and the rest of her Mandalorian friends come down and beat the shit out of Boba Fett and his Mandalorian buddy. And even if that does happen, and even if the last couple episodes are still fun, I think you're totally right, dude. Like Boba Fett in this side of Star Wars, the dark side of Star Wars, is not for Disney. They
No.
need to just stick to the Bad Batch, stick to telling stories that go nowhere, with characters that don't have any kind of relationship with each other or the Star Wars universe, aside from that they have cool stuff and that they have powers or whatever. They say Star Wars things. Go ahead and do that. That's
Yeah.
fine. But stay away from the dark side of, stay away from the dirtiness. Stay away from the grit. You tried and you failed.
Well, that's what makes me sad. That's why I kind of wish sometimes, like, yeah, Warner Brothers did a horrible job with DC, but it's like at least they could do things with the material that Disney could never ever do, and that's why it disappoints me so much with that particular company, because they had the creative freedom to go rated R, to do things that Disney can't. Like I don't want Boba Fett to go rated R, but
Not necessarily.
no, like I get it. Disney is made for kids. It's not going to be, and we're adults, but it doesn't need to just speak to families and children. It can speak to men and women and and fathers and mothers who want to see something that they grew up with.
You don't have to speak to anybody. It just has to be good storytelling, and good storytelling will fucking speak for itself, like it always does. And that's not what we're getting so far.
Exactly. It's boring.
Just random epilogue stuff. Like here's 4 episodes of epilogue, you guys, and halfway into the 4th episode, he gets a little bit of motivation. All right, cool. Let's roll forward. And no, we're not rolling forward. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to show you an episode from another show.
Yeah. As an experiment, it is fun to see like every week like how they fit. Because I'm always like every week I'm going, what the hell am I gonna say about the show? What am I gonna say? Like I said, what I'm disappointed with, but the thing is, they give me another reason to get frustrated with the show. It's like, dude, this is what George Lucas was talking about. This is why he wanted to sell Star Wars to Disney, because George Lucas was like, look, man. Everyone hates what I do. You're probably going to do what everyone loves. You're probably going to tell me to fuck off when I come up with my ideas and tell me to get out the door, which is what they did. And that's fine. But you know what? My baby is now your child. Have fun with it. Go hog wild. But he's kind of like, you know what? When everyone tells you guys that you're fucking horrible people and that all your decisions are wrong and, this, that, and the other, guess what, man? You're going to know what I went through. And I think Disney's going to be going through that now. Star Wars is too big for anyone to care about. Because here's the thing. We always like to make the argument that, oh, you know what? Fans are not going to be happy with anything that they get. It's like, no, man. We got the Mandalorian, and that was like the fucking bare minimum of what we wanted. So build up from there. And they're not able to go beyond the fucking bare minimum.
It was the bare minimum. That was the bare minimum. You nailed it there. And Boba Fett is not Star Wars. Like, thank goodness it's the Obi-Wan Kenobi show and not the Darth. Please don't do a Darth Maul show if anybody's listening. Like, don't even bother.
Yeah, you'll make him like nice guy and stuff like that. You'll feel bad that Obi-Wan cut him in half.
Somebody else do that. Now, his story's already been told through the Clone Wars and whatnot, but it's don't. Like, just stay away from the dark side, you guys.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, do your Obi-Wan show and have flashbacks with Obi-Wan and, Anakin hanging out and doing goofy stuff. Sure, whatever. That's fine. You're lowering my expectations every episode of this show for that show and the Ahsoka show and the Jyn Erso show and the KS. Is like, where's R2-D2? Oh, yeah, he's shut off. I forgot. He just shut himself off.
Yeah, no, yeah, R2-D2. They told him to erase their memory.
Like, he was aware of everything going on in the Star Wars universe. He's just like, fuck this, you guys, I'm out. And he turned himself off for 30 years.
That's what I love about R2. He's like, fuck this shit.
Thanos was right and R2D2 was right. Shut it off. Take
Yeah.
a break.
I think, do we need a break from Star Wars? Because I was excited for more Star Wars, and now I'm like, you know what? No, we
No.
need a break from all. Maybe just Star Wars
We're
needs to die.
gonna be like, yeah, no, that was cool. C plus. You know,
It's like
by the time
this is just Star Wars is a reflection of real life. It's just boring and disappointing. How's that, audience? Star Wars is like real life. You're gonna be disappointed in the end, but once in a while, things will be awesome. Once in a while, you'll get that episode where Luke Skywalker comes in to save Baby Yoda, and you'll be
Mace
crying at the end of it. Yeah, or Mace Windu shows up.
everybody with a jetpack. Like, oh shit, that was fast.
All the shit they could do, they don't do. It's just like, and that was the problem. I came into this going, oh my god, they could do this, they could do that, they could do this. They don't do any of that shit. And I think we've been talking longer than this episode lasted, but then again, judging by Disney's unpredictable length, that's what it is. But speaking of what it is, John, where can we find your stuff?
Oh, we're on the Can TV, which is a public access channel here in Chicago, every Monday night at 11. Got a new series starting on Valentine's Day, Monday nights at 11, plus features Thursday nights at what is it, 11:30? Can TV, channel 19 here in Chicago. We're also on Vimeo. Got a huge library of great stuff there. Independent film from tons of people worldwide. Great, great stuff.
Awesome, man. Yeah, dude. And there's a lot of like crazy fun videos to see. If you're a creative guy and you're just like, hey, I have an iPhone, I want to make a movie, make it, send it over to John, and you can get his info on how to send that over to him. That'll be available in the description below, from the email to the Vimeo link to his episodes. And if you want to check out my stuff, you can go to ypareviews.com. The YPA stands for You'll Probably Agree. Out of 4 Guinnesses, what do you give the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 5?
Well, I mean, as an episode of The Mandalorian, 5 out of 4. That was fun. 5 out of 4.
Even
But
the cockpit
it
stuff
wasn't-
with
that's
Amy Sedaris?
yeah, but since that's not what we're talking about, it's the Book of Boba Fett. It's like, I hate to do half stars, but it's 2.5 out of 4.
Yeah. For the Book of Boba Fett, you get no stars because that wasn't the Book of Boba Fett from me.
I mean, Boba Fett is in the title, and in the Obi-Wan show, if they do an episode without Obi-Wan, we're gonna say the same thing.
Yeah. Actually, I take it back. I'll give it 1 star for me, because I'll say, like, at least maybe there's a reason this connects. But if there is, it's gonna be a damn good one. All right, but John, thank you so much. And folks, you want to subscribe, comment, like, all that, you can go to ypareviews.com. You can click on this video, click that little thumbs up. I think we all know how YouTube works. Anyways, John, thanks so much for coming on. Thank you for standing by through, I think, like almost 2 hours of technical difficulties. But yeah, thank you, and blah, 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 blah. Bye.